Hey there, folks. Welcome back to Foxy Cheating Tales, your go-to spot for the most shocking and jaw-dropping stories of love, betrayal, and deception. Today, we've got something truly unexpected, a story where trust, emotions, and lies collide, and the consequences are more than anyone could have imagined. That's right. Today's tale is about a wife who tried to pin the blame for her infidelity on her husband. But things didn't exactly go the way she planned. Wife gets the clap and tries to blame me. It backfired horribly myself, 30 male. Met my soon-to-be ex, wife, 25 female. We'll call her Taylor to keep our identities safe at a call center we both started working for at the same time. Our first day, she was 20 minutes late and came in carrying what I could only assume to be most of her world at the time with her. And instantly, I knew I would marry this woman. She was gorgeous, sweet, round in all the right places, and we had much in common from music taste to books, movies, and even games we enjoyed. Our intimate life was fiery, passionate, and exploratory. I truly believed in this person being my one. Fast forward 6 years, and we're married with one child. We'll call him Arthur. Arthur brought us very close, and we had both had issues in our professional lives, finding things we enjoyed. I myself would stay employed and constantly look for better opportunities to keep a roof over our heads, food in our bellies, and clothes on our backs. Taylor did not work for the first 3 years of our marriage, and we struggled. We were evicted from 2 homes, one because we shared an apartment with her sister, and she spent all of the rent money 3 months in a row. We were young, foolish, and trusted the wrong family member. The second she had started working for a short while, enough for us to find a place and get out of my parents' place, who were more than gracious to let us move in until I could get us back on our feet, even though my STBX.W wouldn't lift a finger to help cook, clean, or pay any of the bills until this point. She quit immediately without telling me, thinking I would just get a third job to go with my already second. I have done food delivery freelance as a duo with my father, and we would spend whole weeks and weekends practically working a third job. It was too late, however, speaking with my brother who works as a welder for a large company about the situation and asking for advice on what to do, as he had always served to be better with money than I thought. I always made sure we had when we absolutely needed, even if it meant I had to work 20 hours a day to get it. My brother and his wife offer us a room in their apartment, as his wife preferred their newborn to skip in the same room as them in a bassinet. I get a job as a forklift driver in my brother's company and start making good money. My wife at the time gets a job similar, but with a different company, and within 1 month stops receiving paychecks, but is gone all day as though she's at work. COVID is first hitting the US at this time, and tests are in short supply. She tells us she believes she has it, but cannot get a test to confirm. We have to isolate for 2 weeks. Both my family and my brothers and our company did not pay us for this time. We each lost up to 30 hours of overtime on top of our regular 40. Come to find out, she fans out because she had gotten fired for not showing up. When we found out, my brother confronts me and tells me this was against the rules that we agreed to when he first extended help. If either of us quit or lost our jobs, we would be out. I agreed, as I thought this would be a no-brainer and driving force to not help. My wife joined the workforce and learned that it is normal to have to work. I had never had to kick somebody out of my home before, and certainly never a romantic partner. It was one of the hardest decisions I ever made, and what I believed was for the betterment of my family. It started as me asking, to telling her she broke the agreement and had to leave. She was about 5 months pregnant at this time, and my plan was to convince her to stay with her parents so I could keep working and save up enough money to get a modular home. And she agreed reluctantly. I could tell she was hurt. But she put me in this position where I felt no other choice would achieve our goals, and all I wanted was to give her the life I believed she deserved at the time. This was my mistake, and what I believe she used to justify her further actions. I had been saving for months at this point, and my higher paying wage was really paying off. To prevent my wife from being irresponsible with the finances again, my brother and I had an arrangement: half of the rent I paid to him, an extremely fair market amount for a single room place, went into an envelope, After 9 months of saving, I estimated I should have just over $6,500. I begin the process of searching for a mobile or modular home for rent to own. Find one. Show her. It's perfect. Everything we need for the time to welcome our bunk of joy into the world. This brings us to when things truly began to derail unbeknownst to me. I had sacrificed so much for this love I so passionately fed, fanned, cherished, worshipped, and desired. I had reached a point in my life where I was now going to be a father, and my dreams of having a family and being a present, just, and educational parent and husband were beginning to be realized. What I didn't know is Sil didn't know of the arrangement and thought all of the money was theirs as she proceeded to buy every single Jeffree Star makeup palette released within the year before effectively using all but $220 of my $6,500. I was furious, irate, upset, and embarrassed. Once again, I had learned I had trusted the wrong person, and with this omen that flew right over my head, I did not see what was happening. Fast forward 2.5 years, we live with my parents again. Arthur is born and going to turn 3 this summer. It is January. My wife asked me to take her to the ER for what she thinks is a really bad UTI or yeast infection. It was chlamydia. I walk into my home after a 12-hour shift the next morning, not having heard the results yet, to be berated by both her and my own mother, accusing me of cheating. Right now, I will state this. I have never went outside the boundaries of my marriage or entertained the attention of another in any way, as I was head over heels for this woman who I believed to be so perfect. I will admit that I am not, however, perfect. There were times my words were sharper than intended. I am a very straightforward and blunt person, and she struggled with this sometimes, as she has many unresolved traumas from growing up in the foster system. My attitude could have been better sometimes, and I needed more time to learn patience. I know I am not without fault and take accountability for my shortcomings as a husband and father, and tried to grow from them every day, even if steroids taken sometimes were smaller or larger than others. With that said, the beratement began with my mother telling me I had royally fucked up, to which my wife started walking and screaming the phrase, "Who is she? Who is your whore?" I was completely blindsided. Never would I have imagined of all things the clap would have come to my home. She immediately pressed us to go get tested. I agreed. Knowing I hadn't done anything, I now had absolute confirmation she had stepped out on me at some point, but when or with who I did not know. Some things started adding up. I thought back to a moment a few months before our anniversary, and I had asked if she would like to get dolled up and go out to dinner and maybe go for a move drive or long walk together. I remember she looked me dead in the eyes, and with the most ice I have ever heard in a woman's voice, she said, "I will never get dolled up because you want me to." I had noticed her makeup was being used up, but I couldn't recall her wearing any, and she was always needing more. Oh, how naive, blind, and stupid I am. Once we arrived at a local Insta-care center, we quickly explained what was going on, filled out a questionnaire, and waited. My wife requested a separate and female physician. This hurt, knowing that she was really going to pull out all the stops to frame me this way, and not simply giving up on this charade and peaceably talk like adults. My physician came in, inspected me, told me I showed no signs, but that a dirty catch urine samples are the best and most effective tests. After this, they had me join my wife in her room with her physician. Both her and the nurse glared at me the entire time, as my wife uncontrollably sobbed. Turning the waterworks on so bad she broke out in hives. I'd never seen her this way before. I was terrified. My life I had sacrificed so much for was kindling to the bonfire that would eventually burn this forsaken and murdered passion to the ground. Both the physician and nurse spoke to me in accusatory tones, the entire visit saying things to her like, "Don't worry, soon enough you'll be able to get past this with proof." The proof shocked them. 2 years leading up to this, my wife had been rejecting most of my advances for intimacy, chalking it up to postpartum, which I was 100% understanding of. I would try to initiate, but not too much, as I didn't want her to feel disrespected. I just wanted to worship her the way I knew best and reconnect a bond that had been patiently waiting to be reignited. The next day comes. I'm negative, She's negative, strange. I ask if we can go after I get home from work to get a physical copy so we can possibly look into what may have went wrong with the hospital's test, as I thought something serious may still be wrong with her intimate areas. She said it wasn't necessary. We had what we needed, and we were past it. I pressed again and emphasized that I wanted this to happen. Then she lost it, screaming at me over the phone on my lunch break saying, "I'm positive there you heard what you wanted. Are you happy?" I was dumbstruck. She had tried to lie to me and hide the fact that she was still positive. I immediately requested 2 more tests over a month and a prescription for both of us to take care of this and prevent any more harm. By this time, she's realized her game is up with me. I tell her she has 1 day to move out and into her mom's place, that I'll take Arthur 3 days a week. I couldn't do more as my job had me up at 4 a.m. and I wouldn't get home until 5 p.m. At least not having him overnight, I was always asking to talk to him on the phone. See if I could take him for lunch or even give her a child-free day. We agreed on this for 1 month to see how we felt about everything, as she had not admitted to anything no matter how hard I pressed her. In an appointment with her OB/GYN, she was begging, pleading, desperately for an answer to how this could have happened in a monogamous marriage. The looks of dread in the eyes of the staff when they looked at me. Seeing the embarrassment they felt for me, it broke me. Still, she clings to the lie that nothing happened, and she just magically contracted chlamydia. We go home, and I suggest couple therapy on hopes it may get her to open up. Maybe I thought she is worried that I might lose it when she confesses and do something horrible. This train of thought hurt deeper than any other part of this whole ordeal, but made the most sense. I'd never been a violent man, never laid a finger on her in even a playful way that could be misinterpreted, and she didn't come right out and say it, but assumed this was the most logical explanation at the time. Our therapy session comes around, she cancels day of. We reschedule. This process repeats 3 times before I decided it was time to cut my losses. I start planning. In 6 months' time, if I cannot get it out of her, I will kick her out. I confide in the only friend I have, who happens to be female. She is nothing more than a friend to me. My best friend died the same year, and this girl is the mother of his children. We were all very good friends, so I would ask her for female perspective from time to time about things. Hills, my wife, would choose to die on that I didn't understand in arguments or little mannerisms. I wanted to be able to communicate effectively through so I could try to be empathetic and not narrow-minded. My wife went through my phone one night and found our conversation and blew up at me, saying I was cheating again and she couldn't trust me. I told her then she had one last chance to admit what had happened to me, or we were done for good, as all the evidence staunchly supports my claim of innocence in all of this. Innocence of infidelity, that is. Not of being vulnerable or weakened of heart through this painful experience. Later that night, when I pick her up from work, she tells me when she moved into her mom and dad's. After my brother made me kick her out, she went to a friend's, and he essayed her not taking no for an answer when she wanted to leave. Please keep in mind, I do not victim blame, shame, or try to discredit anyone who has claims of SA, as I was at a young age myself. But things didn't add up. This would have taken place 3 months before my son was born. In my state, when babies are born, both mom and baby must take an STI test, as well as mom during OB visits up to birth. And while symptoms can lay dormant, my physician explained it would show up regardless. Mom and baby were clean at birth, no chlamydia, which means she lied to me again. I was devastated at this realization that still she wanted to hide the truth. I still don't know for sure everything that happened, but for a while I was completely broken by this. How was I not worthy, and somehow some other person or persons were after all the sacrifices I had made? Was I not in the least bit deserving of the love I had poured out in return? How could it have come to this? I felt empty, hollow, like a milkweed whose seeds had been caught by the wind and blown away. Months later, she finally confessed she just wanted me because I would commit, give her a child, which is all she wanted me for, and then be with whatever men she wanted, knowing I would be a good father. She used me for what many men believe to be the most sacred purpose in life. I love my son, but sometimes it does hurt to know he was a token for her to gain, and then cast me aside like refuse when my usefulness to her was completed. At this point, Arthur is my top priority. I work 14-hour days to provide as a single father through 2 jobs. All my money issues are solved, and I've paid off all of my debts aside from a couple I'm actively working on. Initially, when we separated, I wanted revenge. I installed apps to try to do this. And after having multiple prospects and beginning conversations, I realized this was not who I am, that I am not a fling kind of person, and that to me, intimacy is a bond-building, sacred moment for lovers to share, no matter how vanilla or explorative. One of these ladies I quickly realized had been really engaging in our conversations. She told me she'd like to continue our conversations and maybe meet up. This actually kind of overwhelmed me. Thoughts rushed through my mind of our conversations the last few weeks, and I realized that I didn't want to hurt anybody by rushing into something blindly, with nothing but revenge on my mind, as that would only make me as low as my ex. But I could tell I really wanted to try with this girl. I ghosted her out of fright. I started working out and going to therapy again. After 6 months, I decided to reach back out. Score! She was sad I stopped talking to her, but after explaining myself, she was exponentially understanding, as she was going through something both similar and in some ways worse, although she was almost 3 years along fighting for a divorce. We'll call her Amethyst. She is sweet, appreciative, a little more plump than my typical kind of girl, but I am not really a very superficial person. I care more for personality and willingness to show. Gratitude. This girl is everything my ex is not. Giving, kind, soft-hearted, understanding, ambitious, and an extremely hard worker, as she has 3 jobs to put her through school. We've been dating for 7 months now. She's met my son. Things are finally working out, I believe, but only time will tell. Taylor, if you see this, I hope you truly understand what you have done to me. The pieces of me I have cut away and said goodbye to that will never exist within me again. And the man in the mirror I had to kill to survive what you put me through. And that's a wrap, folks. What can we take away from this one? Well, one thing's for sure. Lies always come to light, and those who think they can manipulate others often end up trapped by their own deception. So remember, honesty is always the best policy, whether it's with yourself or the ones you love. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss another episode. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about this one? And as always, we'll see you in the next video, where even more intriguing secrets await. Until then, take care.